Okay, welcome to Onshape Vision. This is talking about our new environment feature. Here I'm standing in this beautiful late winter's day. Quite an interesting lighting effect on my model. If I was doing a design review, this might not be the perfect light to be wanting to see it. So we're going to show this new feature for environments where you can put your model into different contexts. You can do that to review your surfaces or see what it looks like in its final kind of resting place. So let's take a look at some examples of some environments that we've created. These have all got different lighting characteristics. We've got a showroom, kind of a big industrial factory, a laboratory, a very modern one, and a fun spaceship for people to play with. Let's start with the showroom. I'm just going to bring us into this environment first and show what we can do. You can see the showrooms appeared around me, so now my physical world has gone and I'm replaced with this beautiful digital world, and you can immediately see that we're getting all these nice reflections of this environment inside the vehicle. And as before, all the features of Onshape work. I can move my model inside this environment. I can move myself simply walking around and catch how the model looks in this space. But this is quite a large environment, and so there are different things that we can, affordances that we've given the user so that you can navigate. You can physically walk if you've got the space around, but maybe you don't want to do that or you can't. So we've added locations and this ability to teleport. Let's do the teleport first because that's the simplest. If I go from movement mode to teleport, let's move this window out of the way. I can now just look anywhere I want to in an environment and look at the floor, press my fingers together, and you saw the little guy appear, and I moved to that position. You can see the model stayed where it was relative in the world. I'm now moving around this space. Of course, I'm not moving. Everything else is moving. So if I want to go and stand over by the door, I just look at the door, pinch my fingers, position little person to where I want to be, and now I'm standing over by the door. So navigating around the space is very simple without actually physically moving at all. You can do this sat down. So that's kind of navigation in the space. And you can see if you pull it a certain distance, it goes red, and that means it's invalid. This is also a way of quickly aborting the move. If you decide that you don't want to do it, just pull it into red space and nothing happens. If you feel that you do want to do it, you let it go green and we move to where the green person was. So that's first, that's navigating in the environment. We've also created some predefined locations, which you can also add to. So if you tap on the locations tab, which now appears on this tab bar, you can see we've got some predefined ones that we've created. So start is where I was in the middle of the room, roughly where I started from. We've got one with entrance, which is back over here. So if I tap on entrance, I've moved back to the entrance by the door. And so these are predefined ones. You can create your own. So if I'm in teleport mode and I want to go and start in that corner over here, then I can create a location here. We're going to call it corner and create that. And now I have a corner. And you can see we've got far corner, which is over there. So that's where, and this tab basically lets me preview them. So obviously there's the one that I've just created here, for example. And if I hit the teleport button, then I transport to that location. So those are named locations and also just ephemeral, choose as you go and just move very, very quickly. So that's navigating around the space as a user around the fixed space. The next thing we'll look at is how we can customize the environments to fit your space better. So let's go into the customize. You don't have to do this, but this could be valuable, especially if you're using these environments a lot. The first one is to look at the movement mode, and we're going to move the environment. So I'm just going to tap on move. I just look at the floor, pinch my fingers together, and now I pick the environment up, and you can see I've got a transparent environment here, and I can rotate it. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk over here and I'm going to align that wall in that corner with the far edge of the grass here. So now I know this entire space here is clear for me to walk around. I know it's all grass. I know the environment I'm standing in. I can now literally just walk around this space without any fear of bumping into anything because I positioned it exactly where I know things are. So you can align the digital space with your physical space for what makes sense. And when you're happy with that, you can also go into the overview tab here and hit the pin button. And now this environment is pinned exactly like this every time I come back into space. So every time I switch on this environment and the device recognizes the space that I'm standing in, it'll reset and realign the environment to exactly as I positioned it here. So that's pinning, and you can do that on any environment. You can pin them in different ways so that they fit your space. You can also create other locations. You can see them here inside the customization dialog. This is another way of adding locations. And then the final mode, which is probably the most complicated to describe, is a way where we might, and I'm going to switch to a different environment for this. I'm going to switch to the factory. So the factory is a much bigger space. And it's way, way bigger than the space that I've got here to physically move around. And so let's imagine that I want the car to be down at the far end of the factory. There's two ways of doing it. I could go into the movement mode and I could literally just try and pick the entire factory up and move it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to align the factory here with the edge of my path again. So I've kind of got a rough bearing on where it is. And then I'm going to transport the entire factory, or the car and myself, to the far end of the factory. And I do that by going to locations and finding or creating a teleport point that I want to go to. And I'm going to hit entrance here, which is over there. I'm going to teleport to here. And you see the car came with me. So that's different to before. Instead, before I was teleporting around the environment and the car and the environment was staying still, I was moving. Now, the car has moved with me and it's now positioned here in the environment. And so now if I were to go and pin this environment here, this will always start up here relative to my environment. And the product will be here when I'm using so the app. If I go out of here and back into into model mode and switch to teleport again, I've still got the same teleport capabilities, but now the car is over there. So now I've positioned the car and the environment where I want them to be. So each of those are kind of different levels of configuration that you might want to do depending on how much you use the environments. If you find yourself coming back into the environment every time, customizing it to your space might be valuable. But for the simple use case, you can just open the environment and start using it straight away. In collaborative mode, you see I have my colleague Martin here with me. We are going to show how environments can work with multiple users. So first of all, let's start simple, which is navigating around the scene. We can use the teleport mode, or in this case, I'm going to show using the locations. I'm just going to select one of these locations. Let's go to far corner, which is over there. And when I tap on that, that shows me where it is. And then if I teleport, both Martin and I move. The model is still over where we left it. The two of us have moved within the environment. Either of us can control that. So Martin, why don't you take us back? We can use either locations, or I think Martin's going to use the teleport button. And here we are, we're both back. So either of us can move, and when we do, we move all the participants of the scene. So that's navigation within the scene. We can also go into the environment and we can do the same, but this time we are now moving ourselves and the model around us. It's exactly the same. And I'm going to do the teleport this time, and Martin can use the locations. So I'm going to move us over to the edge of that wall here. Martin has moved, the model has moved, and so have I. So we've now moved all of the scene across. And Martin, you want to take us back? And here we are back at the entrance. So those are the operations that we can do with environments as multiple users. I can take us into another environment just by tapping on one of the environments in the scene, and we move into the environment. All the rest of the controls are the same. As a client of the session, so Martin started the session. I'm a guest. Both he and I can control navigation through the system, but one thing that you notice that's different is I do not have control over the environments. So Martin can set up the environment, but then the two of us can control our way in. So Martin, why don't you choose an environment? Yeah, factory, quite nice for a nice engine like this. There we go. Okay. So let's start with navigation. We can use locations, which you've seen. So we've got predefined locations, or we can use the teleport button. I'll start with a location. I'm going to take us over to. I quite like the storage room, which is over at the back here behind me. So I'm going to tap on teleport. You can see that Martin and I have teleported, but the model is still where we left it in the center of the factory. Okay, Martin, why don't you take us back? So Martin will use a teleport to take us back. Here we are, back where we were. So that's moving the participants around the scene, leaving the model where it is. The other action that we can do, and I cannot control this because I am the participant in the scene. Martin can go into the environment editor to customize the environment, and this is where we can change our location. So here we have locations. Martin, maybe you're going to choose a location and move us there, and I'll use the teleport to get us back. So there we are. So we're over by the entrance, and you can see this time the model moved with us. So we moved everything, the scene model, over to the entrance, and I will take us back. So I'll go into teleport mode, and I'm going to take us back roughly to where we started. And you can see that here we're back where we were. So that's navigation and thing. Thank you, Martin.